Hey guys, it's Casey Ann, and today I kind of just wanted to share something really personal with you guys. Kind of just like about an experience I had when I was younger. A lot of you probably don't know if you've never seen any of my other videos, or if you didn't get to see my old YouTube videos that I used to make before I deleted all of them, about a lot of the struggles and abuse and neglect I went through as a child, because I have this really great life going on for me now. I used to struggle a lot with bullying and weight and just like a bunch of other stuff for as long as I can remember. I know that everyone in my family has been bullied to some extent. And I just wanted to like share a personal experience with all of you on something that I went through when I was little, because no one's life is perfect, and just because your life is tough doesn't mean that someone has it better than you or worse than you, or you have it worse than someone else, because you know what? You don't know what that person is going through. You don't know what that person has gone through. You don't know the path they've walked to get to where they are. So I'm not going to sit here and say that I don't judge people, because I do. It's kind of just, it just happens. It's normal. I understand that. I'm not trying to say that I'm perfect or anything, so don't try and get that message out of here. But I definitely don't judge people in terms of like their past like I used to. I used to try and make an excuse for myself to say that that my past was worse than everybody else's, and it wasn't. But I grew up with my biological father and my mother married. And my biological father was an alcoholic and a truck driver. So he was never around, and when he was completely drunk, so he technically, to me personally, wasn't around either, because when he was around, he was an ass, and he would just yell, and life wouldn't be so great. But I like to think that I basically grew up with just my mom, because she was obviously way more around than he was. And I went to like an elementary school like any other kid. There's recess and kids and stuff. I had a group of friends and girlfriends, and I wanted to be like my mom. But I lived on a farm, and I grew up with 3 brothers, and my sister was a tomboy, and so therefore I was basically a boy, because I never really did a whole lot of the things that a lot of the girls would do. A lot of the girls would braid each other's hair at recess, whereas I would be playing like hopscotch and jump rope or tag or guns with like my friends, like like on the playground. I was more of that kind of kid. Now it's not, obviously not so much, but when I was younger, I also grew up with my older brother, who struggles with autism and epilepsy. And Dustin is the kind of kid when he was younger that would feel bad about everything that he did, but wouldn't understand the extent of it. He was also a really angry, sad kid, because of his epilepsy and his autism. Kids would abuse that. They would take advantage of him, and they would hurt him. And I just felt like obligated to like feel sorry for him when I was little. But I was trained in giving him like CPR and things like that as a little kid. I was I'm 2 years younger than him, and I always had his best interests at heart. But him and I always butt heads because he was favored on my biological father's side, whereas I was neglected and pushed away. That's not really important to me now, or that I think about it doesn't really matter. But I felt genuinely bad for him, because growing up he had these crushes. Like any other boy on a girl in school, he had this crush on this really pretty girl, and all she would think of him as was the kid with epilepsy, and they'd all try and feel sorry for him. and just be like, hey, look, like, I just want to be friends with you. I don't want to be anything more. And it would hurt my heart because my brother is an incredible guy now. And no kid wanted to take the time into getting to know him. And instead of trying to get to know the person that I knew, they would judge him too quickly because of his autism or his epilepsy. I grew up with his mood swings. I grew up with him being really aggressive towards me, him throwing me down, him, picking on me and bullying me and trash talking me. But I also grew up understanding to an extent that he'll always need me and I'll always need him. And regardless of the circumstances, it didn't matter because in school I was his nurse. Teachers came into my classroom to come get me to swipe his magnet over his VNS when he would have a seizure. They would call me out of class to come and help him when he had mood swings. They would call me to come and help him with anything that he needed when he was seizing or going in an episode or something like that, because at certain times of Dustin and Maya's life, we correlated with each other. We corresponded together. We worked well together. We were buddies. I mean, we were siblings and biologically siblings, but we weren't just siblings. We were best friends at some points in our life. Not always, but a lot of times. And I just wanted to share that it's Autism Awareness Month, for those of you who don't know, and I'm really proud of the person that my brother is. Not because I feel sorry for him, because I don't feel sorry for him at all, because his epilepsy and his seizures, his ADHD, his ADD, God, and everything else that he has, it's actually saved my life, and it's actually brought me to a lot more awareness. I grew up with a pretty rough childhood, and having him around kind of made it even more rough, and it was tougher on my end, but it also put in a lot more insight on being excluded from things, because now I know when I was excluded for certain doctor's appointments, I understand how that feels for him when I'm just trying to talk with my girlfriends and my friends at school, and he's excluded out of the group because no one wants to be his friend because he's got all these, health issues. Now I understand what it's like to, for those kids that have Down syndrome, that kids are like, ew, you're ugly, or what's wrong with your face, or, something that's so rude and it's derogatory and it's aggressive. So it's Autism Awareness Month, and I just wanted to give a huge shout out to my brother, Dustin, who has autism, who's brought a whole bunch of life and joy into my life. If it weren't for his seizures and it weren't for his autism, I wouldn't know half the facts I do about the solar system that I do now. And I definitely wouldn't have grown up with the more matured personality that I do. I'm very protective over him, and I'll always be. So, happy Autism Awareness Month.